Naomi Torres burst into my conference room with rain on her white coat and a hostile takeover clause in her hand, then asked me for the one legal shield I had never expected to offer: a husband for 1 year. The blue ink on the non-disclosure agreement beneath my palm was still drying when the oak door slammed against the rubber stopper. Beyond the glass walls, the city lights stretched in cold, predictable lines. I set my pen down parallel to the legal pad. Naomi crossed the room without waiting for permission. Her hair had been pinned back when the day began, but November rain had loosened dark strands around her face. Her white tailored coat was damp at the shoulders. In one hand, she carried a crumpled funding agreement. In the other, a board notice stamped "Emergency Review" in red. "I need a loophole," she said. Naomi Torres was not supposed to look breakable. She was the founder of Torres Tech, lead designer behind the Vesper wearable prototype, and the only person I knew who could explain biometric patent architecture until investors stopped pretending they understood. Page 12, subsection C. I took the agreement and smoothed the wrinkled paper with the side of my hand. Rushing missed liabilities. Rushing got founders destroyed. I found the clause. Founder stability and morality provision. If the primary founder was deemed personally or financially unstable, control of the company's patent portfolio could be reassigned to the majority investor pending board review. The majority investor was Adrian Lewis, Naomi's uncle, the man who had provided seed funding, inserted himself onto her board, and spent 18 months trying to force a buyout so he could sell her wearable tech patents to a conglomerate. "He found Evan's debt file," Naomi said. "My ex-fiancé ran up joint credit before I caught it. I separated the accounts, but the old summary still shows linked liability for the quarter Adrian is auditing. He is calling an emergency board meeting in 4 days. He is telling them I am financially unstable, emotionally compromised, and too risky to control the patents." There were the stakes: patent control, board vote, family leverage. 4 days. "And your counsel?" I asked. "Corporate counsel reports to the board. Personal counsel is conflicted because Adrian's firm handled the seed round." "What does Adrian want?" "The Vesper patents. Battery regulation, textile sensor array, adaptive medical alert interface. He does not care about the company. He wants the intellectual property clean enough to sell. And if the board votes with him, I lose voting control. He freezes prototype funding. Then he sells the patent portfolio before launch." My practical reason to help was already on the table. I had handled Torres Tech's IP filings for 3 years. I knew the patents. I knew Adrian had tried twice to reclassify design authorship, and both times I had blocked him because I had written the claim maps myself. Before affection, before admiration, before anything dangerous, there was responsibility. "You said legal shield," I said. "The clause lists established legal partnerships as one stability metric," she said. "Verified partnership, clean financial co-guarantor, asset firewall, shared residence for 1 year, independent review. Adrian is old school enough to write that language. Now I want to use it against him." I waited. She forced the rest out. "A marriage." The room went silent. Not romantic silence, contract silence. "No," I said. Naomi flinched before she could stop herself. I hated that, but I did not take the word back. "I am not saying no to helping you. I am saying no to doing it recklessly. Marriage alone will not save your patents. A fake marriage will destroy your credibility. If we build anything, it must be lawful, documented, independently reviewed, and reversible." Her eyes locked on mine. "You are saying there is a version that works." I am saying there may be a version Adrian cannot break." "What would it require?" I turned over a clean legal pad. "Independent counsel, conflict waiver, separate property schedule, 1-year civil term with dissolution option, separate bedrooms, verified shared residence, not staged intimacy, no personal payment from you to me, no equity transfer, no romantic obligation. And if you walk away tonight, I still file a patent injunction before midnight." Her fingers loosened. "You would still file?" "Yes. Even if I say no." "Yes." "Why?" "Because Adrian is trying to steal patent control through a morality clause, and I wrote the IP structure he is trying to breach. That is my professional buy-in." She looked at the legal pad. And the personal one? Fast answers make bad clauses. The personal one is that you came here with documents instead of tears, and you still asked for a shield before asking for sympathy. A faint line appeared between her brows. That is not personal. It is for me. The corner of her mouth moved, not quite a smile, then drafted. I draft nothing until Lucas reviews every page. Lucas Bennett answered the video call in a faded sweatshirt, already irritated. Ethan, why does this look like an emergency? Because it is. I summarized the stability clause, Adrian's leverage, Evan's debt file, the patent portfolio, and Naomi's proposed 1-year civil marriage structure. Lucas turned serious fast. Naomi, direct answers. Is Ethan pressuring you? No. Is he requiring marriage in exchange for legal help? No. He said he would file the patent injunction even if I walked away. Are you offering him equity, money, or personal benefit? No. Do you understand civil marriage has consequences beyond board optics? Yes. Do you understand you need independent counsel who does not report to Ethan? Yes. Lucas looked at me. Good. Separate counsel. Dissolution clause. No debt transfer controlled by you. No romantic language. Separate rooms. Board notice calls this a lawful civil partnership and asset firewall, not a love story. Naomi glanced at me. Boring, she said softly. Boring survives discovery, I said. Lucas pointed at the camera. That is why we tolerate him. For the first time that night, Naomi almost smiled. We worked until dawn. Lucas found independent counsel. Naomi signed a limited scope engagement letter. I drafted the civil partnership and patent stability agreement. No equity transfer, 1-year dissolution option, separate rooms, shared residence only for board-recognized stability, no personal debt control by me, and no implied ownership over Naomi, Torres Tech, or any patent. If Adrian looked closely, he would not find a fantasy. He would find a fortress with witnesses. Naomi read every page. She asked sharp questions, rewrote 2 disclosure paragraphs, and insisted the document state that all Vesper patent control remained with the founder unless removed by lawful board process. That mattered. She was not helpless. She was cornered. There is a difference. At 8:30, she signed. Not because I am desperate, she said. Because it gives me time to prove Adrian's claim is fraudulent. The courthouse appointment happened 2 days later. No flowers, no vows beyond civil language, no performance. Lucas attended as witness. Naomi's independent attorney attended by video. The clerk read the civil terms. Naomi confirmed consent. I confirmed consent. The filing was time-stamped. The patent stability notice went out to the board at 10:43 a.m. At 10:47, Adrian replied. Cute. Naomi forwarded it to Lucas. Add it to the harassment file, she said. Her voice did not shake. That afternoon, she moved 2 suitcases and 4 prototype cases into my high-rise apartment. My apartment had always been quiet. Glass table, gray sofa, 1 plant watered on schedule. No loose papers, no half-drunk coffee cups, no unplanned sound. By 7 that evening, Naomi had transformed the dining table into a patent war room. Blueprints, circuit diagrams, sensor textile samples, legal binders, conductive thread, and 1 cracked white mug that said, "Build first, panic later." My eye twitched once at the sight of the mug on my contract coaster. Naomi noticed. I can move it. No, it is on your coaster. It is using the coaster correctly. That sounded painful. It was. She gave a short laugh. Small, tired, real. Then Adrian called. She answered on speaker. Naomi, Adrian said, voice smooth with public concern. A courthouse marriage 2 days before an emergency board review is not stability. It is panic with a ring. Naomi's hand tightened around the dining chair. I opened my laptop and began recording call notes. Not audio, notes. Legal, clean, admissible when sworn. The board will receive my full disclosure packet, Naomi said, including independent counsel review. You think that makes this less desperate? I think it makes it documented, Adrian chuckled. Your ex left debt behind. Your lawyer patched your reputation with a marriage certificate. Do you really want the board discussing what kind of woman needs that? The conductive thread on the table caught the overhead light like a silver wire. Naomi went still. I slid a notepad toward her with one sentence written across the top. Ask for the legal basis. She read it, then lifted her chin. What is your legal basis for questioning the filing, Adrian? A pause. He had expected emotion, not procedure. I do not need to explain strategy to you. You do if you intend to move against my patent control. His voice cooled. Enjoy the apartment, Naomi. You have 4 days. He ended the call. For 3 seconds, she did not move. Then she picked up the notepad and wrote beneath my sentence. He has no basis yet. She turned the pad toward me. I nodded. Exactly. That was the first practical win. Not enough, but it put the floor back beneath her feet. The next morning, Adrian filed for a personal finance audit. He attached Evan's old debt records and framed Naomi as an unstable founder who had entered a sudden marriage to hide liabilities. Luca sent the filing to me at 6:12 a.m. I was in the kitchen making coffee. Naomi was asleep in the guest room for the first time in 2 nights. Her prototype cases lined the hallway outside the dining room, each labeled in her sharp handwriting. Evan's debt was real, but Adrian's timeline was incomplete. The debt had been separated from Naomi's personal liability months ago. The bank had not updated the summary sheet Adrian obtained. There was still a lingering note attached to one joint account, enough to frighten a board, not enough to survive scrutiny. At 6:40, Naomi entered the kitchen in a gray sweater and dark pants. She saw the open laptop. What did he file? Personal finance audit. She closed her eyes once. Because of Evan? Yes. I hate that his name still has weight in my company. I poured coffee into her mug and set it on the counter between us. I found the bank separation letters. Her gaze sharpened. You did. You brought them in the blue folder. They were misfiled under prototype vendor payments. I did that at 3 a.m. It was a poor filing choice. A breath escaped her, almost a laugh. Noted. I turned the laptop toward her. Adrian is using an outdated summary. We respond with full separation letters, bank officer affidavit, and a board memo showing the debt is not an active personal liability. She read the screen, then looked at me. You did not move the debt into your name. No. You did not pay it off with your money. No. You did not put it in a trust you control. No. 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 That would create dependency and give Adrian an argument that I bought influence over you. Her fingers rested beside the mug. Thank you. It is cleaner this way. It is kinder this way. I had no prepared response for that, so I opened a blank memo. Let's draft. By noon, the audit request had been answered. By 3, the bank officer's affidavit was filed. By 5, 2 board members who had leaned toward Adrian requested a full packet instead of relying on his summary. That evening, Chloe Flores, Naomi's lead engineer, texted, "Board is asking engineering questions now, not gossip questions. Also, Adrian looks furious." Naomi showed me the phone. Chloe says he looks furious. She should not add commentary to evidence. She is an engineer. She adds commentary to everything. Unfortunate. You would like her. I am prepared to be neutral. Naomi smiled into her coffee. The apartment did not feel quiet that evening. It felt occupied. There is a difference. The week before the gala, Adrian changed tactics. He stopped attacking Naomi's finances and started attacking Vesper itself. Trade blogs began reporting anonymous concerns about overheating in the battery regulation system. A supply partner delayed a shipment of sensor mesh. 2 investors requested technical reassurance before committing to the valuation schedule. The pattern was obvious. Adrian could not trigger instability, so he would create doubt. I found Naomi at the dining table after midnight, surrounded by patent schematics and test logs. Rain moved against the glass in thin diagonal lines. Her laptop screen reflected in her eyes as she compared thermal readings. She had been staring at the same chart for 40 minutes. I placed a glass of water near the edge of her work area. You have not changed the data set since 12:8, I said. I know. You are looping, I know. I sat across from her, leaving the schematics between us. What does the data say? The battery array is safe. What does Adrian say? That I doctored the data. What do we need? Third-party verification. Good. She looked up. I do not have time to hire a lab. You do not need a lab for the first response. You need chain of custody and expert attestation. Her eyes narrowed. You already planned for this. I sent a preliminary availability request to Dr. Aristhorn this morning. MIT Aristhorn. He reviews patent disputes. He hates everyone. His neutrality is part of the appeal. Naomi stared at me, then pushed the laptop toward me, then helped me build the chain of custody. Not, save me. Not, fix it for me. Help me build. I opened a clean folder and labeled it Vesper Technical Verification by 2:30 a.m. The raw test logs were sealed, hashed, time-stamped, and transmitted under attorney-client privilege to Dr. Thorne. Chloe joined by video from the lab, soldering iron still on the bench behind her. You two look terrible, Chloe said. Naomi looked at the screen. Thank you, Chloe. I mean legally terrible. Sleep-deprived but motivated. I glanced at Naomi. She always speaks this way? Usually worse. Chloe grinned. Thermal logs uploaded. Independent replication batch labeled. If Adrian says this array overheats, I will personally mail him a thermometer and a note explaining shame. Please do not mail evidence-adjacent objects to board members, I said. Chloe looked at Naomi. He is exactly as fun as you described. Naomi looked down at her laptop, but I saw the smile before she hid it. The affidavit arrived the afternoon of the gala. Dr. Thorne confirmed the Vesper battery array operated 20% below industry heat risk thresholds, and that the raw logs showed no manipulation. I printed 3 copies. Lucas reviewed them. Naomi read the affidavit twice, folded one copy, and placed it inside her clutch. The gala took place in a renovated museum hall full of glass, steel, white flowers, and investors pretending not to watch one another for signs of fear. Naomi wore a white structured evening suit with clean lines and a high neckline. It looked less like a gown and more like armor designed by someone who understood elegance as engineering. I wore a dark suit and carried the affidavit inside my jacket pocket. We entered together, not hand in hand. Side by side, Adrian found us near the display wall where Torres Tech had installed a rotating hologram of the Vesper prototype. He stood with 3 investors and a board member, smile sharpened for spectators. Naomi, he said warmly, I admire your courage showing the prototype tonight. Given the safety questions, some founders might have waited. There it was, social pressure, public doubt. Naomi did not look at me. She looked at Adrian. I did wait, she said, for independent verification. I handed her the affidavit. She unfolded it herself. Dr. Aristhorn replicated our thermal stress review this morning, she said. The battery array operates 20% below heat risk thresholds. The raw logs show no manipulation. The affidavit has been filed with Patent Counsel and copied to the board. The nearest investor leaned forward. May I see that? Naomi handed it to him. Adrian's smile held 1 second too long. Then it failed. A single consultant's opinion, he said. An independent expert whose testimony survived 3 federal patent disputes last year, I said. If you have contradictory data, send it to my office. If not, I recommend you stop repeating unsupported safety concerns about a protected prototype. The board member looked at Adrian. The investor kept reading. Somewhere behind us, a camera clicked. Adrian lowered his glass. Very prepared, he said. Naomi looked at him. Finally. That was the first time the room shifted in her direction, because she held the paper. We left the gala after the investor group requested a technical meeting with Chloe instead of a buyout call with Adrian. In the car, Naomi sat beside me, affidavit resting on her lap. You handed it to me, she said. The affidavit? The moment. You could have stepped forward and buried him yourself. Yes, but you did not. No. Why? Because if I become the story, Adrian wins a different argument. What argument? That you need a man to legitimize your company. She turned then. Bayaras, and what is the correct argument? That you built something strong enough to survive examination. She looked down at the affidavit again. No confession followed. She simply placed the document into its folder and zipped it closed. A kept promise. A closed loop. The real blow came 3 days later. Lucas walked into my office at 7:40 a.m. and closed the door before speaking. That was never a good sign. Adrian found clause 9b, he said. I took the folder from him. Clause 9b sat buried in the original seed funding agreement. If a founder's equity became subject to an active external legal dispute, the board could suspend her voting rights until the dispute cleared. Attached to the clause was a dormant Delaware grievance filed by Evan, Naomi's ex-fiancé, alleging a verbal promise of equity in Torres Tech. Old, weak, still active. He does not need to win it, I said. No, Lucas said. He only needs it active long enough to suspend her vote. The board vote was in 48 hours. The marriage shield did not cover a pre-existing equity claim. Adrian had changed the battlefield. I took the folder and went home. Naomi was already at the dining table, reading the same notice on her tablet. Chloe sat on video from the lab, silent for once. He found a way, Naomi said. He found a delay tactic. If my vote is suspended, he pushes the buyout through. Yes. Chloe leaned toward her camera. Can we countersue? Not fast enough. Naomi closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was no panic left, only exhaustion. Then, what is the practical move? That question kept the room from collapsing. I set my briefcase on the table. First, we determine whether Evan wants equity or money. Second, we determine who is funding his attorney. Third, we file for emergency dismissal or settlement, but not with my personal money and not through a structure I control. Naomi looked at me. You added that last part for me. I added it because it is true. For 2 hours, we worked through the Delaware docket. The claim had been dormant because Evan had never paid the continuation fee. A payment had been posted that morning by a litigation funding account tied to one of Adrian's holding companies. There was the hand behind the curtain. Adrian had revived the claim. Not Evan. Naomi leaned forward, eyes hard. He funded the dispute he is using to suspend me. Yes. Can we prove it? Lucas smiled for the first time all morning. Bank routing notice. Sloppy vendor code. Adrian's people are arrogant, not careful. Chloe clapped once on video. Finally, something I understand. Bad engineering. Naomi took a clean legal pad and wrote 3 lines. Funding link. Emergency board disclosure. Founder buyback option. I looked at the 3rd line. She saw me notice. The original charter gives me a buyback option if a minority shareholder acts in bad faith to suppress valuation, she said. Adrian wrote it to protect himself from other investors. He forgot it could apply to him. I looked at her. That was the founder. Not cornered. Calculating. What do you need from me? A clean, legal path. An introductions to capital that will not control the patents. For the next 48 hours, the apartment became a siege room with coffee. Lucas built the emergency disclosure. I drafted the board packet. Chloe gathered technical valuation data. Naomi called 3 investors and rejected 2 because their terms smelled too much like Adrian in cleaner shoes. At midnight before the vote, she stood by the window, phone in hand, city lights reflected across the glass. I have one, she said. Who? Evelyn Park. Non-controlling preferred position. No patent control. No board majority. Clean money. Send me the term sheet. She did. I read it 3 times. It works. Naomi's shoulders dropped. Not far. Enough. She said yes because of Chloe's data. Naomi said, and your refusal to give away control. And your structure. Structure is cheap without a founder willing to hold the line. She looked toward the first grocery receipt clipped to the residency file. You know, she said, you never did make the full grocery schedule. I was limited to 12 items by executive order. Good governance matters. Apparently, she smiled. The siege room warmed by 1 degree. The boardroom of Torres Tech had been designed to intimidate visitors. Dark wood, long table, city view, a wall screen large enough to make any spreadsheet look like a verdict. Adrian sat near the head with his legal team, immaculate and already pleased with himself. Several board members avoided Naomi's eyes when we entered. Naomi walked in first. I followed 1 step behind her with the portfolio. Chloe sat near the back, laptop open, jaws set. Lucas joined by video on the wall screen because he wanted the pleasure of watching Adrian misunderstand procedure in high definition. Adrian stood. Given the active Delaware equity claim, he said, I move to suspend Naomi Torres' voting rights pending resolution and proceed with the buyout offer. Naomi did not sit. There is no independent equity dispute. Adrian's smile thinned. I placed the funding disclosure on the table. The Delaware continuation fee was paid yesterday morning by a litigation funding account connected to Lewis Strategic Holdings, I said. Mr. Lewis funded the dormant claim he is now using to suspend the founder's vote. The boardroom went quiet. Adrian's lawyer stopped typing. Naomi slid the document to the board chair. This is not risk management, she said. It is manufactured leverage. Adrian stood straighter. You cannot prove intent. I do not need intent to trigger the founder protection clause, Naomi said. She opened her own folder. I had not written the first page. She had, in light of repeated bad faith attempts by a minority shareholder to suppress valuation, interfere with patent control, and manufacture governance instability, I am exercising the founder buyback option under the original charter. Adrian's face changed, just once, but everyone saw it. You do not have the capital, he said. Naomi placed the term sheet beside the disclosure. I do. The board chair picked it up. Evelyn Park Ventures? Non-controlling preferred position, Naomi said. No patent assignment, no board majority, no operational control. The Vesper patents remain with Torres Tech. Chloe's laptop chimed. Updated valuation packet is live. The wall screen changed. Thermal safety affidavit. Patent claim maps. Investor term sheet. Revenue projections. Adrian's buyout offer. Evelyn Park's valuation. The comparison was brutal. Adrian had tried to buy Torres Tech at 1/3 of the updated independent valuation. The room did not erupt. It did something worse for him. It read. One board member leaned forward, then another. The chair looked at Adrian. Did your holding company fund the Delaware continuation fee? Adrian's jaw moved. No answer came. The silence became the answer. Naomi stood at the center of the room, both hands resting on the table. You tried to turn my personal history into corporate instability, she said. You tried to turn my engineering into rumor. You tried to turn my uncle's seat into ownership of my patents. I am buying back your shares today. The vote took 18 minutes. The buyback passed. Adrian Lewis was removed from the board. When the chair recorded the decision, Chloe exhaled loudly from the back. Sorry, she said. Engineering reflex. No one laughed immediately. Then Naomi did. One small sound. Enough to let the room breathe again. After the meeting, Naomi and I stepped onto the sidewalk outside Torres Tech. The November sky had cleared. Rainwater still shone in the cracks of the pavement, reflecting the city in broken pieces. For 8 weeks, every step had been timed around a threat. Gala. Patent filing deadline. Board vote. Now the calendar was empty in the one place that mattered. Naomi looked down at the folder in her hands. The patents are safe, she said. Yes. Adrian is gone. Yes. The marriage shield is no longer necessary. I felt the words before she finished saying them. That was the correct outcome. The clean one. The one I had drafted for. I opened my planner. Dissolution paperwork sat on Monday at 9:00 a.m., written in black ink 3 weeks earlier because I prepare for endings before they arrive. I can have Lucas prepare the dissolution packet, I said. My voice came out level, professionally correct, entirely useless. Naomi looked at the planner, then at me. Traffic filled the silence between us. She stepped closer, but not into my space. The folder stayed in her hands. The board order rested on top, signed and final. Ethan, she said. I closed the planner halfway. She swallowed. Then the title words came, quiet enough that the city nearly took them. Don't leave me. I did not move. She lifted the folder slightly. Not because of the contract. Not because of the board. Not because of the patents. Those are safe now. I am asking after the leverage is gone. The cold air moved between us. That distinction mattered. It changed everything. She was not asking from inside a trap. She was asking from the other side of one. You do not need me to protect Torres Tech anymore, I said. No, you do not need the marriage shield. No, you can sign dissolution papers Monday. Yes. And you are still asking? Yes. No courtroom language. No merger structure. No emergency clause. Just one clean choice. I opened the planner again. Monday, 9 a.m. dissolution packet. I drew one line through it. Not dramatic. Permanent enough. Then beneath it I wrote, Dinner with Naomi. No contracts. I turned the planner toward her. Her eyes moved over the page. A smile appeared slowly, as if she did not trust it at first. I said, "Don't leave me," she said. "I heard you. That looks like dinner. It is the first available non-contractual commitment." A laugh broke through the last of her composure. Small, shaky, real. I closed the planner. "I will not stay because a document says I should," I said. "I will stay if you choose me after the document ends." Naomi held out the board order. I took it. She took my pen from the planner and wrote one word beside the crossed-out dissolution note. "Chosen." Then she handed the pen back. "There," she said. "Clean record." For the first time in years, my schedule did not feel like a cage. It felt like a door left open. At the end of the 8th week, Torres Tech held the Vesper launch in the same museum hall where Adrian had tried to poison the prototype with rumor. This time, the room belonged to Naomi. The Vesper display glowed at center stage. Chloe ran the technical demo. Evelyn Park stood with the product team instead of above them. Board members, who had once avoided Naomi's eyes, now waited to congratulate her. Naomi stepped to the microphone in a deep blue suit with the Vesper band on her wrist. She thanked Chloe, the engineers, Evelyn and Lucas. Then her eyes found me. "I also want to thank Ethan Scott," she said. "When people tried to take this company from me, he did not take over. He built a legal structure that allowed me to keep choosing for myself. That is rarer than protection. That is trust." The room applauded. I gave one short nod. After the demo, she crossed the room toward me, in full view of the board, investors, engineers, and staff. Not hidden, not whispered, not leveraged. She handed me a slim white box. Inside was a Vesper band, Founder Edition. No equity, no legal authority, just a device she had built, placed in my hand by choice. "It is calibrated to remind overprepared lawyers to stand up every hour," she said. "That feature feels targeted." "It is." I fastened it around my wrist. The band lit once, soft and blue. Naomi looked at it, then at me. "Dinner after this? No contracts. No contracts." This time, the room did not feel like a battlefield. It felt like a launch. Later, when the crowd thinned, rain began again against the glass wall. The same sound as the night she had walked into my conference room with a clause in her hand and no time left. Only now, her patents were safe. Her company was hers. Adrian was gone. The exit was open. And she was still standing beside me. Naomi reached into her pocket and took out a folded sheet of paper. Not a contract, a grocery list. 12 items. Maximum. At the bottom, beneath coffee, cereal, milk, bread, and something called emergency chocolate, she had written. Dinner ingredients for 2. I folded the list and placed it inside my planner. Appropriately documented. Her smile softened. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, the room stayed warm, loud, imperfect, full of people and plans and evidence of a life I could not control into safety. For once, I did not try. The end. Closing thoughts. Core lesson. Protection means giving someone tools, not taking their choices. Green flag. The right person separates love from leverage. Please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this.